Vice Chair Brooks, we have all the commissioners that have indicated that they were going to be in attendance. So whenever you're ready, we can get started.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. I'm Yvette Brooks, and I'm the vice chair for LAFCO, and I just so luckily have been assigned to run this morning's meeting. There was no coup, from what I understand, for me to be here this morning. So before we get started, I believe Mr. Serrano would like to share for a few words about our meeting process.
Thank you, Vice Chair Brooks. Before that, if we could do the roll call, that'd be great. And then I can get started on the other ones.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to item 1. Before we do that, may I have a roll call, please?
Thank you, Vice Chair. So Commissioner Jim Anderson.
Present.
Commissioner Roger Anderson.
I'm here.
Commissioner Ryan Coonerty.
Here.
Commissioner Justin Cummings.
Here.
Commissioner Francisco Estrada. Commissioner Zach Friend. Commissioner Rochelle Lather. Alternate Commissioner Ed Banks.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Yvette Brooks.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner John Hunt. And alternate Commissioner Manu Koenig.
Here.
So Vice Chair Brooks, we have 3 alternates that will be voting members this morning. We'll have Commissioner Ed Banks as a district, Commissioner Manu Koenig as the county, and yourself as a city voting member. But we do have a quorum.
Wonderful. Okay. So now that we have a quorum, we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 2, the executive officer's message.
Thank you, Vice Chair Brooks. As you just mentioned, this meeting is being conducted using Zoom webinar in accordance to AB 361. Under this platform, the commissioners and staff will have full control over their webcams and microphones. For the general public, their microphones and webcams have been disabled, but they still have the ability to view and hear the entire meeting. The public will also have an opportunity to address the commission on any agenda item. And they have 2 methods of doing that. One, they can send staff an email in which we'll read their comments on their behalf, or they can raise their hand on Zoom by clicking on the hand icon or pressing *9 on their phone. And because we're doing these remote meetings, any commission action will require a roll call vote. So that's the virtual meeting process. Vice Chair Brooks, I just have 2 other quick updates that I want to go over. First, I'm pleased to note that the latest educational workshop tailored specifically for our independent special districts was a success. Out of the 22 districts, 17 were present. Staff is hoping to host future workshops for not only our districts, but for our cities and also for the general public. The commission will discuss the details of those potential workshops in the near future. And finally, I do want to take this opportunity to welcome back our 3 county representatives. Commissioners Coonerty, Friend, and Koenig were all reappointed to LAFCO during last month's County Board of Supervisors meeting. So gentlemen, welcome back. Vice Chair Brooks, that concludes my updates, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for Mr. Serrano? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to item 3, the adoption of minutes. Any questions about our item number 3 for our minutes? Okay, seeing none, any questions from our audience?
Vice Chair Brooks, I do not see any requests to address the commission at this time.
Okay, we'll bring this back to our commissioners for a motion.
I'd like to move approval.
We have a first from Mr. Anderson
I'll second that.
and a second from Jim Anderson. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Vice Chair Brooks. Commissioner Jim Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Roger Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Ed Banks.
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan Coonerty.
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Cummings.
Aye.
Commissioner Manu Koenig.
Aye.
And Vice Chair Yvette Brooks.
Aye. Right, that item passes. unanimously. We'll now move to item 4 for oral communications. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the commission on items not on this morning's agenda.
Vice Chair Brooks, we did not receive any requests from the public to address this item at this time.
Okay, great. So then we'll move on to item 5, our public hearings. This is item 5A, Opal Cliffs Recreation District Reorganization, project number RO21-18. We'll go ahead and begin with a staff presentation.
Thank you, Vice Chair. This proposal involves 2 special districts, the Opal Cliffs Recreation District shown in green, and CSA 11, also known as County Parks, shown in pink. The subject territory is located south of the city of Capitola, shown in hash marks. Now, a complete analysis was conducted as part of the staff report, but for today's presentation, I will focus on the key findings. First and foremost, this proposal was initiated by the OCRD's Board of Directors through the unanimous adoption of a resolution back in August. This adopted resolution, accompanied by a signed application, is requesting that OCRD be dissolved and that the dissolved area be annexed into CSA 11 as the successor agency. LAFCO identified CSA 11 as the most logical service provider for the Opal Cliffs community as part of the 2021 countywide Park and Rec Service and Sphere Review. That report highlighted the fact that CSA 11 has been providing services to the community since 2019 under an existing MOU. This proposal will simply take that strategic partnership and make the merger official to fully maximize the county's recreational services. Based on staff's analysis, it was determined that 11 parcels within OCRD overlap with the city of Capitola, as shown on the screen with the 2 arrows. If approved, the annexation will exclude those 11 parcels because the city already provides recreational services to those parcels under its own Park and Rec department. In summary, this proposal fulfills the requirements under LAFCO law and the commission's adopted policies. Furthermore, this proposal reinforces the fact that that LAFCO's findings within the commission's adopted service reviews lead to improvements. In this case, the proposal will maintain the same level of service while removing an obsolete layer of government, but more importantly, it ensures that the Opal Cliffs Park has proper management and fiscal oversight now and in the future. If approved, staff will conduct a 30-day request for reconsideration period and a 21-day protest proceedings. Staff will also mail out notices to the Opal Cliffs community about the upcoming protest hearing. In conclusion, staff is recommending that the commission adopt the draft resolution approving the reorganization involving Opal Cliffs Recreation District and County Service Area 11. Vice Chair Brooks, that completes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions once you open and close public comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Serrano. I'll actually begin with comments from our questions from our commissioners. Any questions from our commissioners? Mr. Jim Anderson?
Yes, Joe, do you know if they completed all their legal stuff with the Coastal Commission over their gate and stuff, or is that still pending?
It's my understanding that all of that has been resolved. There are some issues that were not addressed, which we covered in our service review, which is one of the reasons why we felt that dissolution was appropriate for the community. But to answer your question, I believe the issues have been addressed to the extent that they could.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Roger Anderson, do you have questions? Mr. You're muted.
You're unmuted.
Now it's okay, I assume. This may be a minor point, but I was curious about the dates for reconsideration and the other dates in the packet. It says there's supposed to be 30 days for reconsideration, but it's listed from February 9 to March 9, and I would think it should be March 11. Now, whether that's any difference for legality or anything else, but I did want to bring that up as a possible change.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. I'll double check on the dates. We have to make sure that it's at least 30 days. So I'll look into that, but we'll make sure that it's a 30-day period.
Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? Okay, I don't see any. Mr. Serrano, do you see any?
I do not see any requests from the public at this time. But other than the commissioners, I don't see any other hands raised other than Roger Anderson. I'm lowering his hand now.
All right. All right. Seeing no more questions from our commissioners and none from the public, we'll go ahead and bring this back for further comment and a motion. Commissioner Koenig.
Thank you, Chair Brooks. I'd like to move the recommended actions.
Okay, we have a first from Commissioner Koenig
I'll second.
and a second from Commissioner Cummings.
Could I just, if I could just make a brief comment?
Please.
Yeah, it's, this has been a long time coming. It's great to finally move forward with this annexation to CSA 11. And as Director Serrano said, a little bit of streamlining of local government here. Obviously, the private speech, as it's affectionately known by locals, has gotten a lot more use in the last year since it was open to the public. And hopefully this is an opportunity to move forward with improvements to the access point, including an improved gate. But also, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to address things like, more bike parking, better parking in general, and showers or other freshwater options there for people who visit it so frequently. So, yeah, ultimately, this is a great thing, and let's get on with the good work.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Koenig. Any other comments from our commissioners? Okay, seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Commissioner Jim Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Roger Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Ed Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan Coonerty,
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Cummings,
Aye.
Commissioner Manu Koenig,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yvette Brooks.
Aye. Okay, this item passes unanimously. We'll now move on to item 6.
Vice Chair Brooks, I do see a hand raised from the public. I believe it's for this item. If you don't mind, I'll allow them unless you have any restrictions with that.
Okay, just please note that this item has passed already, but we are more than happy to hear the attendee.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Ms. Becky, we can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. I apologize for joining late. I was on the phone with health insurance for my mother-in-law. It took way longer than I thought. So I came in just as this was ending up and was not sure where on the agenda you were. I appreciate the ability to speak and understand that it has passed. And I'm glad that it has passed. This has bothered me for a long time. And I just want to say that I hope that the gates will come down, completely come down. It has been a big issue with the Coastal Commission and the public. And I hope that now going with CSA 11 and county parks, all barriers will be removed permanently. Thank you very much for moving this along. I really am happy to see this.
Thank you, Ms.
And
Becky.
again, thank you for the ability to do so.
I appreciate the comments, and you're right. This has been a long time coming, and I truly believe that this is just a form of good governance. The fact that the special district and the county were able to determine that this will benefit the community beyond Opal Cliffs. This would help any resident or anyone that's interested in visiting the park, more accessibility. And that just shows the form of good governance. So I'm really happy that this commission has approved this proposal and that staff was able to help coordinate this and move it along. So I really appreciate your comments. And Vice Chair Brooks, I don't see any requests to discuss this item further.
Okay, I appreciate both of your comments and all of your work on this, Mr. Serrano. Moving forward, we're going to go on to item 6A. This is our continuation of remote meetings. Mr. Serrano?
Thank you, Vice Chair. In November, the commission adopted a resolution directing staff to fulfill the requirements under AB 361. As you all recall, this new law allows us to continue conducting virtual meetings during a state of emergency. The commission also directed staff to provide monthly updates on the status of the pandemic in order to determine if the next LAFCO meeting can be held in person. The first update was in January and resulted in the commission ratifying the existing resolution due to the rise in COVID cases. At this time, we are still under a statewide mask mandate. This mandate may be lifted soon, as early as next week, but it's still unknown whether local restrictions will be in place. So just to be safe, staff is recommending that the commission ratify the existing resolution approving the continuation of the remote meetings for our next meeting in March. At the March meeting, we'll then discuss all the new information and determine whether we can have an in-person meeting in April. Vice Chair Brooks, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions once you open and close public comments.
Mr. Serrano, you'll have to forgive me. This isn't aligning with the agenda that I printed out from our February 9th on page 3, other business. And it says employee performance evaluation is item A. So I might have printed an old copy, or I'm not sure if the other commissioners are tracking the same.
Yeah, and that might have been my fault with the agenda item that I've sent you, but it should be 6A for the continuations and the performance evaluation should be 6B.
Okay, that's fine. As long as the commissioners are following and tracking with the correct agenda, great. Okay, please move on.
Yeah, so just to conclude with my presentation, staff is recommending that the commission ratify the November resolution, allowing staff to host our March meeting as a virtual meeting. And then at the March meeting, we'll discuss whether the April one should be in person or virtual again. So that is staff's recommendation.
Okay, any comments from our commissioner or questions, excuse me? Okay, any questions from the public on this item?
Vice Chair, I do not see any requests at this time.
Okay, we'll bring this back to our commissioners for further comment and a vote. Commissioner Cummings?
I was gonna move the item.
Okay, but first from Commissioner Coonerty, Mr.
Second,
Cummings,
second Koenig.
thank you. You guys are fast today. I appreciate the hand, Justin. All right, so we have a first from Coonerty and a second from Koenig. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Commissioner Jim Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Roger Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Ed Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan Coonerty,
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Cummings,
Aye.
Commissioner Manu Koenig,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yvette Brooks.
Aye. This item passes. We'll now move on to item 6B.
Thank you, Vice Chair Brooks. And this one is a performance evaluation. So I'll get started on that one. Each year, the commission conducts an annual performance evaluation for staff, especially the executive officer. During this time, the commission also considers changing staff salary if warranted. Based on the commission's closed session discussion last month and the recommendation from the Personnel Committee, staff is subject to a salary change. Staff is recommending that the commission adopt the draft resolution approving the salary change based on staff's performance in 2021. Vice Chair Brooks, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions once you open and close public comments.
Any questions from our commissioners?
I just wanted to say we had a second, we've had 2 meetings from the Personnel Committee this year. And we strongly support the recommended action. We consider Mr. Serrano is doing an excellent job, and this is some recognition for that.
I appreciate that information, Mr. Anderson. Any other questions? Okay, we'll take this to the public. Any public comment at this time, Mr. Serrano?
Vice Chair Brooks, we do have a request from Ms. Becky Steinbrenner. Ms. Becky, I'm muting your microphone.
Becky
Good morning.
Steinbruner, can you hear me?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
can hear you.
Thank you. I just want to echo the sentiments of the chair. I think Mr. Serrano is doing an outstanding job, and as a member of the public, I think we're very lucky to have him at the helm of LAFCO, and I've been just really grateful of the reports that he's been doing. They're very thorough and very effective and have good follow-up, and I think he's doing an outstanding job. So thank you, Mr. Serrano, for your good work.
Thank you, Ms. Becky. I really appreciate that.
Okay, any other comments from the public?
Vice Chair, I don't see any other requests at this time.
Okay, I'll bring this back to the commissioners for further comments.
I'll move the recommended actions. Koenig?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first from Commissioner Koenig and a second from Mr. Jim Anderson. And I just would like to echo everyone's sentiments of Mr. Serrano's great work. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Commissioner Jim Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Roger Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Ed Bank,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan Coonerty,
Aye.
Commissioner Justin Cummings,
Aye.
Commissioner Manu Koenig,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yvette Brooks.
Aye,
This motion passes.
great, thank you. Moving on to item 6C, this is a legislative update.
Thank you, Vice Chair. The 2022 legislative session is in full swing. There are a number of bills that directly or indirectly affect LAFCOs. Those bills are listed and summarized in an attachment to the staff report. One bill in particular that LAFCO has been closely monitoring is SB 418, which would create a healthcare district in Santa Cruz County, specifically in southern Santa Cruz County. This was an urgent bill due to the bankruptcy case involving the Watsonville Hospital. As a result of this urgent bill, it was just signed by the governor this past Friday. While staff supported the intent of the bill, there were some requests to improve the language within SB 418 since the formation did not go through the typical LAFCO process. Those requests were not implemented in the signed bill, but the Pajaro Valley Healthcare Project Group did confirm to LAFCO that those requests will be addressed in a subsequent bill. In the meantime, staff will continue to coordinate with the healthcare group as well as CALAFCO and Monterey LAFCO as this healthcare formation unfolds. There's been questions about the boundary, so I just wanted to show a quick map of what this healthcare district will look like. On this map, you see a number of colors, so I'll just briefly go over them. The green is the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. So it's my understanding that the Pajaro Valley Healthcare Project Group followed that Unified School District boundary to create this new healthcare district boundary. That healthcare district boundary is shown in the red hash marks. So you can see that it follows the Unified School District towards the south of the county and actually includes portions of northern Monterey County, which is why Monterey LAFCO has been working closely with our staff on this matter. The purple is Salinas Valley Memorial Healthcare System. That is the 5th largest healthcare system in the state. Their sphere actually goes all the way up to Monterey County. So there's some discrepancies on overlapping with the future of Salinas Valley Memorial and this new healthcare district. That's one of the issues that LAFCO wanted to address in SB 418, and hopefully it's addressed in the subsequent bill. But to show the commission, that red hash mark is what this new healthcare district will look like as we move forward with it. And Vice Chair Brooks, that concludes my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions from the commission or the public at this time.
Okay, we'll begin with Commissioner Koenig.
Thank you, Chair. Director Serrano, will the boundaries of the healthcare district be able to be changed in the future? And if so, would that happen through LAFCO, or would that have to be by a legislative update?
Great question, Commissioner Koenig. So the bill does have language saying that this special district is subject to LAFCO. So now that it's formed, any boundary changes would require LAFCO action. And that's one of the language that we wanted to include is to have even more details that within a year, a sphere of influence should be adopted by LAFCO, just to make it clear of LAFCO's role. But to answer your question, the bill does have language about the jurisdiction that LAFCO has over this special district. So once there is a need for a boundary change, that's going to come to this commission for approval. And if you can see my cursor, this area here in South Santa Cruz County is not included in the district. This area here in between the two healthcare district is not within a district. So it merits the discussion of should these be included in this new healthcare district? And I think we need an analysis, but to answer your question, yes, the commission will take action on any boundary changes in the future.
All right, I'll just thank you for that. And I'll just add, I do think that could be very likely. I'm actually currently recruiting for the new healthcare district board, which will be appointed by the Board of Supervisors, and we have an application process for that. But looking for potential applicants, and honestly, it's difficult within the relatively small district that's been created. And I think we'll are likely, our current budget is, I've heard from some medical professionals, fairly optimistic for the hospital, and so that we could ultimately need to expand the district for funding reasons as well.
Right. Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Koenig. Commissioner Jim Anderson.
Well, I just wanted to clarify, I'm led to believe so it will be part of our sphere reviews and stuff going forward in one of the special districts that we manage.
That is correct. So within a year, I would like to bring to this commission a sphere of influence boundary consideration. But yes, this is subject to LAFCO's purview and will be subject to service reviews, to sphere updates, to annexation applications, et cetera.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Roger Anderson.
Yeah, I just was curious about the state of the fundraising for this project. I understand from the agenda materials that there's a deadline of Valentine's Day for the bankruptcy resolution. And I just wanted to get some assurance that indeed there is sufficient funds raised for that. I suspect that the bankruptcy court will be quite generous because I don't see other people bidding on the property, but I did want to get some better idea about what, how close to the goal have we reached?
Good question, Commissioner Roger Anderson. It's my understanding that the healthcare group has collected up to $13 million at this time. I don't quote me on the number, but I believe they need an additional $15 million more to help cover the costs to essentially buy out the hospital. But I'm not sure about the number. I could refer back to the healthcare group to get specifics, but there still needs to collect additional funding as part of this bankruptcy case deadline. There is, and you actually triggered a memory, there is language in SB 418, which says if the hospital is not purchased, then this district needs to be dissolved. And that dissolution process will go through the LAFCO process. So there is language in case there isn't a purchase agreement in place. So either way, we will see LAFCO action in the near future.
Okay. Any other questions from our commissioners? Okay, seeing none, no action required for this item, and it's informational only. Mr. Serrano, do we generally go to the public for informational items only? I don't do that with council, but
Vice Chair, LAFCO's procedure is any agenda item, the public has an opportunity to address the commission.
Sure.
So we do have a request from Ms. Becky Steinbrenner. So Ms. Becky, I'm asking to unmute your microphone.
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbrenner. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I really appreciate that LAFCO will be reviewing and monitoring this special district. I just have a lot of questions about how all of this is being done at the local level. Because I participate in most county board of supervisor meetings, I was aware of this coming down the pike actually on November 9th when it came before the county board of supervisors. CAO Palacio presented it, and it was approved by the board to move forward to participate in the formation of the Pajaro Valley Healthcare District project. Oddly enough, County Public Information Officer Jason Hoppin had already released on October 28th a press release that this was formed. I thought that was a little interesting. And the other interesting part is that former County Director of Health and Human Services, Mimi Hall, retired, and she is now heading all this up. I think that's a violation of the revolving door policy of the FPPC, that government workers are not supposed to jump directly into, from government work into a nonprofit, managing a nonprofit, and that's exactly what's happening. I have a lot of concerns about this, that the boundaries seem to have been drawn up without any real cost-benefit analysis of those who would or would not be included. According to yesterday's Santa Cruz Sentinel op-ed, it could cost $45 to $55 million a year to operate the hospital, and I have real concerns about where that money will come from in a long-term sustainable way. Yes, there have been changes in administration at the hospital under different private corporations, but I don't know, I don't have the confidence that the county in this
One more minute, Ms.
Pajaro
Becky.
Valley Healthcare District project will be any better, for lack of a better word. So I think I'm out of time, but I just want to voice my concern, and I am very glad that LAFCO is getting involved and will be involved, and surprised that they have not been involved yet in drawing these boundaries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Becky. And Vice Chair, if you mind, I'd like to provide some comments or feedback to Ms. Becky. And LAFCO once LAFCO was aware of the interest of forming a healthcare district, that group actually did reach out to LAFCO back in October, November, to get a better understanding of the LAFCO process. And what's interesting is that typically special districts are formed under LAFCO law, but formations of healthcare districts are very similar to forming a new city. And there's a lot of analysis and a lot of time. And what's the crux of all this is that this hospital, the Watsonville Hospital, was on the verge of bankruptcy. And this is about a health and safety concern. This hospital provides services to a working class. And I was initially torn because I wanted this to go through the LAFCO process, but at the same time, this hospital cannot close. There's so much people that rely on it. And one of the best ways to address that issue is through special legislation, which it's not unprecedented. There, special districts are formed through legislation. That's happened before. And in this case, this really helps address this health and safety issue. And the nonprofit group really spearheaded the effort to find a way to provide better oversight As some of you may know, this hospital has had 21 ownerships in 20 years. That's just a revolving door of ownerships, and it was for profit. And when it comes to health services, it shouldn't be for profit. I believe that public local governance will provide better oversight, better fiscal management, and it will better help provide services to this underprivileged community. Now, when it comes to funding, the neighboring healthcare district, the Salinas Valley Memorial Healthcare System, 99% of their revenue is from services. Less than 1% is from property taxes. So healthcare districts can function through their services, charges of services. This hospital can follow that method. It's my understanding that they're developing a business model, already have a business model in place. So I think the funding's there, but I think what was lacking of this hospital was proper local government oversight. So I think it's going to be a win-win for the residents. And for LAFCO, LAFCO has been involved. It's not the typical LAFCO involvement, but this group has included LAFCO, and LAFCO has been providing much needed information for them to succeed. I want all the special districts in this county to succeed, especially this one. And that is going to be my goal moving forward. And I'm going to continue providing oversight and guidance as this process unfolds. So Vice Chair Brooks, I really appreciate you allowing me to provide some further feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Serrano, for that information. Okay, any other questions before we move on to the next item or comments? Okay, let's go ahead and move on. This is item 6D, Focus Agricultural Class of 2020 Reconvene.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Staff was initially scheduled to participate in the 2020 Focus Ag session, but that was canceled due to the pandemic. It appears that the 2020 class will reconvene starting in April. The 8-session course will help staff better understand the agricultural issues in the county, as well as network with other local leaders. This is an informational item, Vice Chair, and no commission action is required. That said, I'm happy to answer your questions once you open and close public comments.
Any questions? Okay, any questions from the public on this item?
Don't see any requests, Vice Chair.
Okay, well, this item requires no action, so we'll move on to our next item. This is item 6E, CALAFCO Staff Workshop.
Thank you, Vice Chair. LAFCO is scheduled to host a staff workshop in March after a 3-year hiatus. If this workshop does actually occur, your staff will be a guest speaker in 2 breakout sessions. One will focus on how to process an application. It sounds like a snooze fest, but I'll do everything I can to make it as entertaining as possible. The other one will be an overview of LAFCO's history, functions, and responsibilities. Again, I think I was selected because I like to have fun with the presentations. So we'll see how that one goes. More information is available in the attached staff report, but Vice Chair, this is an informational item and no action is required. I'm happy to answer any questions once you open and close public comments.
Okay, well, make sure you sign every commissioner up to join you in that. I know everyone wants to. Any questions, Mr. Roger Anderson?
Yeah, I'm just curious, Mr. Serrano, if there have been discussions about the annual conference, whether that's planned for in-person or hybrid or whatever in the future.
Great question, Commissioner Roger Anderson. It's my understanding that CALAFCO will be hosting an in-person annual conference in October in Southern California. We're closely monitoring, but that is the case as of right now. That's why we're having an in-person staff workshop in March. So that's the intent.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so we're going to move on to our next item since no action is required for this. Item 6F, our comprehensive quarterly report, second quarter. Mr. Serrano?
Thank you, Vice Chair. At the end of each quarter, staff provides the commission a detailed summary of key projects, accomplishments, and tasks. For today's presentation, I'll summarize those actions in 4 categories. First, applications. We currently have 2 active applications, the OCRD reorganization, which was just approved minutes ago, and the Roaring Camp annexation into San Lorenzo Valley Water District. This application has been in the books for almost 3 years now. As a result, I have sent the applicant a letter indicating that they have until March 31st to submit the required documents, or the application will be terminated. Next, we have the service reviews. This year, we have 3 scheduled service reviews analyzing 41 agencies. The City of Capitola in May, the 6 water districts in August, and the 34 road CSAs in October. I have already begun meeting with those affected agencies to discuss the service review process. Next, we have our current budget. As of the end of December, we have already received 100% of the anticipated revenues and only incurred approximately 32% of anticipated expenses. Long story short, we are doing well financially. And finally, we have our outreach effort. Regardless of the pandemic, your staff has been busy. Staff has participated in over 20 virtual or in-person meetings during the second quarter to discuss current or potential applications, adopted or upcoming service reviews, and other LAFCO related topics. Vice Chair, this is an informational item and no action is required, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Serrano? Mr. Jim Anderson.
Do you know why there's the Roaring Camp is languishing? Do you know?
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
I just wanted to know if why Roaring Camp is taking so long.
Yes, so good question. There was a number of factors that delayed this process. One was the pandemic really slowed down their application efforts. They had other priorities to work on. Then it's my understanding that they have some internal staffing changes. And the biggest hurdle has been the map and legal description. It's been taking them a long time to develop that map and legal description of searching for a firm that can provide that information, that firm gathering the necessary details to complete that meets and bounds. But I've done everything I can to assist them. But the time at this point, we reached the limits of allowing them an opportunity to submit the application. The only thing that's missing, Vice Chair, Commissioner Jim Anderson, is the map and legal description. Once I get a copy of that, I can deem the application complete and ready for commission consideration. And I believe that the March 31st deadline gives them enough time to develop the meets and bounds.
Okay, well, I know they have a 99-year lease from the Woods family for that, so I don't know. Hopefully they'll reach out to the Woods family and see if they can get help there too, if they need me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roger Anderson?
Yeah, this is a question also about Roaring Camp. There's been a lot of press about Roaring Camp, in particular the rail banking issues. And I find this very confusing myself. And I would like to suggest that Mrs. Serrano put together some kind of a packet which might provide people with really reasonable and accurate information about what the issues are and what there might be in terms of problems. So I just suggest that for a future meeting. And if you're willing to do that and the commission has no questions about it, I think we should go ahead and do that.
Chair?
Yeah, Mr. Koenig?
Yeah, if I could just respond. Commissioner Anderson, I know it's a confusing topic. I've definitely been knee deep in it over at the Regional Transportation Commission. And without attempting to explain everything right here, I'll just say that the staff at the Regional Transportation Commission has done a really great job of explaining what rail banking means, what the implications are. I would recommend taking a look at, I believe it was item 22 in our last agenda. There's an extensive staff report there, as well as just another Q&A sheet. What is rail banking that the RTC has put out? So, not that I'm sure that Director Serrano could put together a great report on rail banking, but there are other staff members in the county of other commissions like the RTC that have done that work, so the information is available. I'll be happy to share those links with the LAFCO if necessary.
Mr. Roger, you're muted.
Okay, thanks for the information. I would hope that there is other information that can just be gathered together, but it is a very confusing topic. And you can see that by following the various letters to the editor. And Bruce McPherson tried to step into this, but it still seems to be murky to many people in the county.
And what I can do is I will definitely reach out to Commissioner Koenig and get the links to that information that's already been developed, share that with the commission, make that accessible to the LAFCO website as well.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Mr. Serrano? Any from the public?
We do have one request, Vice Chair Brooks, from Ms. Becky Steinbrenner, so I'm going to ask for her microphone to be unmuted. Ms. Becky?
Becky Steinbrenner, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate this quarterly report and again applaud all the work that you are doing, Mr. Serrano, and the good work that you're doing. I am happy to see that there will be a county-wide service and sphere review of the water agencies. This is really important, especially given the situation and what we can expect, it seems, in the future. And I really hope that there will be the possibility of discussion of consolidation of the City of Santa Cruz Water Department and Soquel Creek Water District. The County Water Advisory Commission has formed an ad hoc committee to in compliance with AB 552 that required the county to have a committee in place January 1st of this year to come up with a drought plan. And it will be focused on consolidation of primarily small water companies and domestic wells, but those meetings will be public. The committee just formed, has met a couple of times, but we'll be reaching out and hopefully that will be in the news. It's a big topic. I am a member of CSA 33 for Redwood Drive repairs, and there have been so many problems over the years, not only with ours, but other similar CSAs. So I am hopeful that your report will help identify those. Primarily, they've been the very high cost of public works overhead. Sometimes it's 58% of what we pay.
One more minute, Ms. Becky.
Thank you. In their requirement to administer this, the liaison with Public Works changes sometimes twice a year, so you never have the same person you're talking with. It's very confusing, and they have required licensed engineers to submit plans for simple overlay, adding a great expense to the CSAs for road repair. So I'm really looking forward to this and hope that you will reach out to all of the CSA liaison officers, and I look forward to the report. And also, I hope there will be a Connect the Drops, going back to a water theme, event that will happen in our county this season, this summer, for maybe an outdoor in-person event. Thank you very much for your good work.
Thank you, Ms. Becky.
Thank you. Okay, so since this item requires no action, we'll go ahead and move on. So this is item 7A for January correspondence. Mr. Serrano?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Just quickly, last month, staff received 2 correspondence, one from Central Fire regarding their recent transparency award, and the other from Douglas Deach regarding his comments on the city of Santa Cruz's water rights project. Both correspondents do not need any commission act at this time, but it was shared to the commission. Their comments are also available on LAFCO's website. Vice Chair, this is an informational item. No action is required, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from our commissioners? Seeing none, any from our public on this item?
Vice Chair, I don't see any requests at this time.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward to item 8, our press articles.
Vice Chair Brooks, I don't have a presentation. This is just a standard agenda item to allow the commission an opportunity to see what LAFCO related news is out there. But I'm happy to answer any questions on any of the articles.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions regarding press articles during the month of January for Mr. Serrano? Okay, seeing none. Any from our public on this item?
Vice Chair, I don't see any requests.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next item, item 9, our commissioners' business. This is an opportunity for our commissioners to comment briefly on issues not listed on the agenda, provided, or if anyone would like to speak, this is your opportunity to do so now. Don't all raise your hand at once. Okay.
This is normally an empty item, but I always leave it
Okay.
just in case a commissioner has something that they need to share, but we can move forward to the next item.
All right, let's go ahead and do so then. Well, commissioners, we made it. Item 10, this is adjournment, and our next meeting will be March 2nd, 2022. I look forward to seeing all of you then. This meeting is adjourned.
Great job, Ms. Brooks.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you,
a great
commissioners.
morning.
Bye, everyone.